I almost quit the sport because of cutting too much weight. One night I'm driving, I look down at my phone, I look back up, I smash into this car that's parked. I've been able to see what the greatest looks like up close, and the greatest looks like discipline, discipline, discipline. And when you think that they're gonna get out of sorts or get out of pocket or discipline.
Man, what's up, y'all? This is Freddie Stevenson from Trials of Triumph. Man, listen, I want to give a major shout out to you guys. Thank you for all the support on YouTube. We've done over 2 million views in just the last 7 days, and we couldn't do it without you guys and all the support. So let's keep it up, man. And of course, I would love to thank you guys for the support on last week's episode with Xavier Smith. But we got another great episode coming up this week with world champion wrestler Nate Jackson. But first, I would love to thank our sponsors, Fran Fleet, Indie Atlantic Films, and Concord Coffee. But let's get into this episode, man. It's gonna be a great one. Man, shoot, I appreciate you pulling up on me, man.
You got it.
When you reached out, man, I appreciate you reaching out, and just the story is powerful. So I'm looking forward to, the audience learning more about your story, and I followed your content and things like that, and just love the journey, man. So I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you. I've been really happy to kind of withdraw a little bit more. And content was something that I was always producing. Me and my wife, we've been creatives since the beginning. We've been together since we were kids, man. I literally knew her when she was 12 years old, and we kind of grew up together. So
that's a blessing.
I'm happy to have more private life where it's things that are going on that people have no idea what we're doing, that we're sharing together, and then we can give little glimpses and stuff, and that's cool. But yeah, I'm a dad at the end of the day, man.
Yeah.
4 kids, so it's been a blessing, man.
For sure. Kind of walk us through your upbringing. You grew up in Illinois, correct?
Yeah. So I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. I was raised by my mother and father. They were hardworking. My mother was a beautician. My dad opened up a barbershop. He had that shop since that's all I could remember. I grew up in the barbershop, but he started that shop out of my grandmother's basement, and then grew into had his own standalone shop in an area that really needed it. It wasn't a lot of, it was kind of a food desert. The area was kind of poor, but he was a pillar in that community. And yeah, man, wrestling was my whole life. So when I was 7 years old, my dad started a program just because the young men in the area just, and women, there was some women wrestlers as well, but really the men in the area just kind of needed some direction. And he always was a guy who jumped into that spot and took that cross on his back to provide that. And man, I lost every match. My first year, and I was like, Dad, I'm done, man. I'm good. You could just pour into these guys, and he wouldn't let me quit. He wouldn't let me. He wanted me to taste victory in it. And once I won, it's an individual sport. I was like, all right, this is my thing.
You can do it.
Yeah.
When you were wrestling, were there any other sports that you grew up liking, or was it all you just wrestling only?
Yeah, my dad was more of a baseball player.
Baseball?
They used to play with this rubber ball on straight up cement, dude, and it would be a wall behind them. They called it strikeout. They're throwing 100 miles an hour, this rubber ball hard. So I grew up watching them play baseball. So that was my first love. I've been playing baseball since I can remember, and then my sophomore year in high school, it actually came to a head where the coach wanted me to play all year, and I still had wrestling, and I was like, I'm a dual sport athlete. And he gave my family an ultimatum, the coach, and we don't do that well with ultimatums. So baseball was done, and wrestling kind of got poured into.
Yeah, that's tough, because now you see it. I think it benefits athletes so much playing multiple sports.
Yeah. So
it's weird to see when coaches try to force you. Growing up in Chicago, did you grow up a fan of the Cubs or the
So I was a Sox fan.
Okay,
I was a Sox fan.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, no,
is that
cool,
good? Cool. My wife was a Cubs fan, and then everybody was Cubs fans where I'm from. So being on the South Side, so I was in the South suburbs. I was like, yo, it's South Side. We won in 2005. We won in 2005. So that was a huge part of my childhood, just watching sports for the first time. But yeah, man, no, Chicago. I think the Cubs is more that's more mainstream, Chicago, the real Chicago people. Sox fans, no. no, it's all good.
You had some success, started to have success in high school wrestling. Kind of walk me through your high school career, starting to find your groove and, ultimately ending up winning a state championship.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Like, so I wrestled at this storied program. It's called the Harvey Twisters. They were constantly producing like state champs and like national champs. They even have like Olympians that have come from the program. So I was exposed to greatness at a young age. My dad threw me in that program, and it was hard. It was hard. It was like a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily think as like proper as far as like training and whatnot. Training methods were very challenging, but the men, like it was all men and they were all invested. So just having those role models, like I had a whole bunch of them. I just saw myself as being a great wrestler. When I went to high school, I think that I had a chance to kind of be my own, like freedom and all that stuff. But I was like, my head was in the clouds, dude. Like I was really distracted. The school I went to was a place called Marian Catholic, and it was a very difficult, rigorous school. But I was like I was just kind of stepping into my personality. So I was like a class clown at times, and I played a lot. It wasn't until I got with my girlfriend, my wife now, that I really started to focus on like, hey, if you're spending time in this, you got to put some energy and some focus into it. So my junior year, or the summer after my junior year, me and my girlfriend, my wife now, we conceived our son. So,
how does having a child in high school, how did that change things for you?
It was a whole nother world, man. Like we were thrown into adult situations right away. So like all the conversation that surrounded us, from being like just kids who were doing whatever, we were now like, from a kid perspective, they were looking at us like, oh, these people just ruined their life. Like they just threw their life away. So they were speaking at it on us. And just as a believer, we know how powerful like the words are. Man, dude. So one thing that me and her did, like we just held each other down. So like we were like, man, we're about to be out of here. Like forget all that. And we actually put the things that negative people were saying behind us, and they used it as fuel to to trying to chase our passions. I ended up winning the state title that next year through focus and like training, and obviously like, man, that was just a godsend. God did that because he needed me to go do something in college. He needed me to have an opportunity to go to college. But then she ended up winning her state title in color guard as well. So like, we've been winners for a long time, but the negative things that people say, they stick to you like identity sometimes. So I think most of the time from, the high school years up into that early adulthood, so even through college, we were like busy taking off like certain things that people had strapped to us.
Yeah. Was it a lot of family that was talking down on you at the time, or more so like your peers?
Man. So like, I want to say it was more so peers. Family tended not to say the things to us, but you can kind of feel like that there was conversations being had behind closed doors. So like different little microaggressions and things like that. Like you could tell how people thought of our situation. Like we were down bad, and we've never really struggled, like not in a real sense, until after we had money and stuff. That's when we started really tweaking. And we'll get into that, but like in the early times, like we really held each other down. My father, my mother, her parents were super supportive of us. So like, really nobody kind of got into that inner matrix, because it was just us and the core. And like when we went off to Indiana University, we even got tighter, like me and my wife, and then me, my wife, and my son. We had 3 kids in college. Wouldn't recommend that. Wouldn't recommend that. We had 4 by the time I was 23. By the time she was 22. So like, just a little perspective.
You said 3 kids in college.
Yeah.
So, man, you already grinding, trying to make a way. And, as a student athlete, life as a student athlete, is tough. What was it like for you as a student athlete, knowing that you got all these kids that you got to take care of and, provide, and making sure that you're structuring everything the right way? Ultimately being Father's Day just passed. Happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you. Are you a father?
Yes, sir.
Yo, happy Father's Day.
2 little girls, but
wow.
Ultimately being a father.
Okay. Yeah, no, for me, like I've always been like a fly by the seat of my pants type of guy. Like I've always had really high confidence just in the way that I was raised. So like, I saw it as an opportunity to just show the world what I can do. Like, and I understand now just in my thinking, like where that could err, because if you're trying to impress the world, like that's just not a good just not a good way to live. But it did suit me well because I understood that I had to be set apart. Like I couldn't go do the parties and all that stuff. That's something that I went into college with that perspective, where I know that people who may have been in that situation later after having tasted some of the access in college, like alcohol and party lifestyle, I could see they could kind of fall victim to that a little bit. But I think having a wife and my son and then my daughter and then my daughter and then my other daughter, having them all in school, it was just layers of accountability, man. So I didn't drink at all in school, which was pretty cool because that school, they went hard there at Indiana. At Indiana.
Did you like Bloomington?
It's fantastic. Like still, like I've only visited once since I graduated. The time we went, like it's fantastic. It looks like a big campus, but the way it's set up, it's like it feels intimate, like when you're living there. And then it's on an island. Like it's not a whole lot going on outside of Bloomington, in that region of Indiana, but they have everything there. Like they got good schools and it's cool, man. Shout out IU, but it was cool.
Yeah, I had guy I know he went to IU, played ball there. Shoot, another one of my friends, he went there, man. It's nice university.
Yeah. Was it football?
Yeah, they both play football.
Okay.
Yeah.
Their program has picked it up a little bit over the years.
For sure. Like they definitely have. I was rooting for them last year, but just that step up that they made last year, it's gonna help them land a lot of recruits
for sure
in that process.
For sure.
I wanted to ask you, as a wrestler, what it's like during the cutting process.
Yeah, so I've been on a lot of different spectrums of it. Like, so I almost quit the sport because of cutting too much weight. So when I was in high school, like I was 112 and dude, it almost took me out. Like I was trying to stay 112, but I had hit a growth spurt. So believe it or not, like I was like 5'4" in high school. Like I was like 5'4". Now I'm 6'3". So most of my growing happened in that freshman and sophomore year. And I was trying to maintain this low weight. And then eventually I was just like, dude, I'm done. My parents agreed, like, yo, we're done with that. And I didn't cut weight at all after that. When I got to college, just the environment is way different. It's super competitive. But I was just committed to not cutting weight. I literally weighed probably like 170 pounds my freshman year, wrestled at 174. And then it wasn't until my junior year that I really started like getting back on the cutting weight train. It's a distraction. Everybody who teaches like the proper way of doing it, like it's a distraction. If you want to be the best at something, you literally take your energy that you do have and you put that energy into the time that you do have in your day and you get better. Like otherwise you're ducking, like for me, I still compete at the international level and, I weigh 202 pounds every day. The reason I weigh that is because that's the weight class that I wrestle. 92 kilos. Like if during the Olympic year, the 92 kilos is gone and it's either 97 or 86. So I have to make a decision, but I'm committed to being the weight that I choose to wrestle. Lifestyle.
Yeah. I hear Floyd Mayweather. He talks about it a lot, like in boxing.
Does he not cut?
Well, he fought in like whatever he weighed, like he made his weight walk around weight. He talks about like the people in different sports, wrestling, boxing, MMA that try to walk around and be like weight bullies, but they're killing their body just to cut weight and make it for these fights. And I just always wanted. Of course, it doesn't apply to you, but like the people that are putting their bodies through this, man, it has to be dangerous.
It's dangerous, man. It's dangerous, and like people forget about the cumulative effects of things. Like we feel the fatigue and we feel the wear of like each day or maybe even at the end of the week. But like cumulatively, like we're breaking our body down. We're making ourselves more susceptible to injury. We're making ourselves like lower level thinkers, like even thinkers, like problem solvers. Think about the areas of your life outside of just the sport that you're affecting. Now you're affecting your personal relationships. Now you're affecting your support systems. And those are the things that keep us lifted during those times that it's hard on us. So for me, like, even as a coach, like, I think I disagree with a lot of coaching on specifically on weight cutting within our sport. It's just because I just think that energy can be put in a different place. And I know from I lived it. Like I know what it feels like to go and look forward to training versus putting on a bunch of layers so you can lose weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the intention. Yeah.
After you finished up at Indiana, what were the next steps for you?
Yeah, so man, I'm a family man, right? So my junior year, a coach from Brown University came to Indiana. His name is Travis Pasco. He looked at me like differently than everybody else. Like he really poured into me, like where I was. He held me accountable, like as a man, as a family man, as a father. And like he was talking to me more on the line of like how my dad would talk to me. So it made me look up to him in a way that like I was inspired. And I was like, dang, like I could do that. Like I should do that. Before then, like, man, I wanted to be in sports broadcasting. I wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to be Stephen A. Smith. Like that's what I wanted. And then I wanted to pour into like one person at a time and be a coach. So originally I was going to stay at Indiana and be a coach there. So I was literally on the closing process of a house. My wife and I lived in like a nice apartment, but we wanted some separation so we could build our family like alone. And was in the closing process. And the guy who actually recruited me to Indiana, who he later went on to go to coach at Princeton, he was never at Indiana while I was there. He gave me a call and was like, hey, we got this opportunity at Princeton. And I was like, okay. Like I was like, all right, let's see what it looked like. And me and my wife got on a flight and we vetted that. And man, we decided to go on out there. We got a moving truck. We had like, being real, like we had like $50, bro. Like at the end of all of it, we moved our whole family out there. My wife was pregnant at the time with our fourth child. And we had $50 to our name and we started in New Jersey. And we lived right outside of Princeton, really close to the university. The first thing we do is like, what do? We sign the kids up for school. We go into like this building. They're like, your kid doesn't go to Princeton, the Princeton school district. So we're like, no, we made a mistake. Cause the whole reason we bought, or where we originally planted ourselves, was because we wanted to be in the Princeton school district because we heard great things. We ended up being in the Montgomery school district, which is right next door. And it was great. So it all worked out. Out.
A lot of us dream about owning our own businesses, but don't know where to start. Consider this. Did you realize that 1 in every 4 businesses that we frequent are actually locally owned franchises? See, franchising is more than just McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. It's home services, fitness, wellness, personal care, pet care, senior care, medical, real estate, blue collar, white collar, and everything in between. Today's sponsor has even helped people start small things like vending machines and ATMs. And what I love is that these are proven systems with a playbook for success in place. So just like in sports, if you're coachable and can follow the playbook, you'll be successful. Make sure to check out my guy, Steven, at Franathlete on Instagram, or visit their website, franathlete.com, to learn more. No cost or obligation, just information. That's perfect. That's dope. When you're going through this process, you kind of talked. We kind of talked behind the scenes about it, like family life. You mentioned it being a father. Family was one of your first priorities. How was everything as far as your relationship with your not high school sweetheart? That's 12 years old. That's what, middle school?
Man, she's been the love of my life, man. That's crazy. I didn't even really know what love was, and until I really dug into like our relationship, and it's happened over the course of the last handful of years. We've had some really great moments, but just as a man, like I wasn't really a man. Like when you become a man and you're ready to take on responsibility. But honestly, man, I was just trying to make something for myself, and she was just my girlfriend this whole time, right? So we were married. We got married as soon as she turned 18. Like we got married, and I felt like a husband, but it was all about me. It was all me focused, and like, how can I do this for my family? And all I needed to really do, and what God was telling me, and what He was trying to show me, was like, I have to be present, like, and I just wasn't. So we went on like this journey. I call it a journey because it sounds better, but like, dude, it was difficult. Like my relationship with her was trying in college, and then uprooting her from that situation, and because again, I uprooted her from Illinois, and then we went to Indiana, and now we're going in New Jersey, and my relationship with her, just my relationship going toward her hadn't changed. It was still all me focused. And she flipped a switch and she was like, okay. And then she's gonna do what she has to do. And in doing that, like, I was able to kind of look at her a little bit differently. But I still was trying to figure out how I was gonna solve the issues on my own. And it caused me way more pain than it did any revelation. Like, I didn't learn anything new. My relationship with my children was starting to suffer. My relationship with her obviously was taking a back seat. And it came down to time, man. Like, I was spending probably about 60, 65 hours a week, just mentoring men, like young men. And honestly, like, dude, I did a really good job. Like, I was a really good coach, and I was really there and available for them and anything they needed. But you turn the other side of it, I wasn't that to my wife first, and then I wasn't that for my children, because your wife knows what your children need.
Yeah.
And if you're not talking to your wife about what your children need, then you're probably giving them some bad seed here and there, you know? So yeah, no, like, we went on this whole like journey, dude, like apart, like we were together, but apart, and we were living separate lives, 2 separate lives.
How did everything come back together for you guys?
Yeah, it came back. Man, let me tell you. And we've hurt each other in every way. Like, you can use your imagination. Like, we've been unfaithful to each other. We've abused each other. We've talked bad on each other. All living in one house. So like, the toxicity was spread throughout the entire house. We lived in this nice ranch, and it was nice, man. It was nice. It had like a pool, and it was like 3 acres. Like, it was exactly what we had dreamed of, but it became hell for us because the house wasn't being taken care of. The outside of the house wasn't being taken care of. And it started to reflect just where our heart was, and our heart was outside of the house. And that all of our beauty, like during the time where I made more money than I had ever made, I had more credibility as far as like wrestling accolades. Like, I had won international medals, and I had just won the World Cup, actually. And my win was a pivotal win in USA beating Iran. Man, that's when we were like, that's it. It's divorce time, right? So we're preparing to live in separate situations. So now you take people who are together but looking elsewhere, and now you take them apart of each other and still looking elsewhere, because we're trying to solve all of the issues that we have for our kids, because we did love our children. So I struggle with alcoholism. I struggle with substance abuse. My wife was on the same boat. One night I had taken a drive. Wasn't a good night. I literally was drunk, driving hard. I had these suicidal thoughts in my mind about just like what it would be like if I could just like rest. Cause that's what you want. Like, we talk about like asking God for what we want. And most people say like, oh, I want to be this, or I want to do this one day. But what we actually want is a break. You know what I mean? Like, we just want to rest.
Yeah.
So I wanted to rest, and I was very blatant in my relationship with God about it, but I didn't have a relationship with him. I had a relationship with the world, and I wanted rest from the world. So one night I'm driving drunk, right? I look down at my phone, I look back up, I smash into this car that's parked. My car, the entire car is totaled, right? I get outside of the car, I look at the car, and I'm like, that's not good. The car that I hit, destroyed, right? I get back in the car, and this is me not sober-minded. This is me not accountable, not responsible. This is me taking care of myself. I drive back home, right? It's maybe 5 minutes from the house. I drive back home. As soon as I get in the driving lot, as soon as I get in the parking lot, the car doesn't work anymore. Never worked since then. The car was done, right? Because of what was going on in my life at the time, the situation I was going into wasn't a good situation. So when I went back home, I didn't like the situation. That same night, I go back outside, I smash the car. Like, I'm literally on my hands, pounding the windshield. I'm crying out to God, dude. Like, I'm just done. Like, I didn't want to be here. I had literally just got into a car accident and I survived when I could have just been gone.
Yeah.
And like, if you've been in hell before, then you know how desirable it can be to get out of hell. Mm-hmm. But hell, what God showed me in that moment is hell is a bottomless pit. And even in that moment, he showed me grace. I asked my wife to call the police because I was done. Like, I was like, call the police. Like, I'm out of here. Like, whatever. Call the police. Like, I'm just trying to get a reaction. I'm trying to get out of the situation, but God is protecting me, protecting my family in that. Police are called. They show me grace. They take me not to the jail where I belong. They take me to my coach's house, the head coach of Princeton. And I slept in his upper room, right? He had a apartment or a condo, and I slept at the very top level. Everything was comfortable. Everything was nice. I have blood all over me. I wash off all of my blood and everything. And the next day I go into the back to my house, and, you know, everybody's checking in, making sure everything's okay. Like, can you do this? Like, whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I go back to my house. I go in the basement so I can pack up all my stuff so I can remove myself from the situation that I know is toxic. I'm removing myself as a logical thinker, not because I'm dangerous or my wife is dangerous, but because together this is a toxic situation that my kids should not be involved in. So I'm like, yo, I'm about to live in my car. I go down and boom, I get a revelation of who Jesus is at a time where I'm not looking for him. I'm not reading the word. I'm not in the word. I'm not at a church. I wasn't even thinking about it. I get a revelation of who Jesus is. I feel the Holy Spirit taking over my body, right? So I'm like, okay, like I haven't felt that, but it was a familiar feeling because if we live in the Spirit, like we're always connected to Jesus. Christ loves us. Like he's always loving us. So I felt familiar. I pack up all my stuff. I still put it in the car. I drive to this new library that's built in town. And then I send my wife this message. This message like changed our entire trajectory. And it was just an invitation to go to church. I looked up, usually she asked me if I want to go to church and I'm like, yeah, whatever, where you want to go? Yeah. I look up a place, I see a time, I send her the time, I send an invitation. She agrees. We drive in separate cars, we go. And from that time forward, we've been inseparable. We've been together. We've been moving on a step by step. We took a trip to Colorado. We went to the top of a mountain together. We skydived off of a cliff together while we were there. And when we got back home, our kids don't even recognize us. They like, why are you guys acting like this? Like, why are you guys acting like that?
It's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
And what God wanted us to do in that moment was to take care of our house. So the first thing we do, we attack the house. She's cleaning up the inside of the house. I'm cleaning up the outside of the house. I'm removing trees. I'm getting everything together. And in doing that, like literally in just doing that one thing, so much peace like filled our house. We started playing music. Like we started off with like lo-fi beats and different things, and it turned into like gospel music and that spirit like that. And it's still like, because we don't live in that house anymore, and I'll tell you why. But that spirit that existed in that house was so strong and so real and palpable. Like we could touch it, dude. Like we understand exactly what journey we were on. God literally would send us on assignment. Like, I got to go to work. She got to go do what she got to do. We come back into that house, and it was while we cutting vegetables or cleaning or doing something, we're just being like comforted for the first time. And, you know, that I can remember for myself. And she describes the same thing. And yeah, man. So like, we're building up this house. Like we're trying to be Christians, right? We're trying to be faithful Christians. And, you know, God is constantly calling us to do more and more and more. What I've learned in this journey is that like God was my savior because I was raised as a Christian, right? I was raised in a Baptist family. I went to a Catholic school, and I was raised Christian, but I only looked at Jesus as a savior and not Jesus as Lord, right? So Jesus being a savior just means that he's going to operate in mercy and grace and take care of the things that we can't take care of, which still exists, and I still need that today. But Jesus as Lord looks like a lot different. It looks like denying yourself here. It looks like, maybe extending, like saying, hey, reach out to that brother and ask if you could have an opportunity. And then even dots connecting there. Like, man, I just been on a journey now, and it's been crazy. It's been crazy. It's been 3 years.
We would like to thank Concord Coffee for sponsoring this episode. Fuel your day with Concord Coffee, Florida's favorite local roaster. Whether you're grabbing a freshly brewed cup on the go or savoring a latte crafted by our skilled baristas, Concord Coffee is all about bringing you quality and community in every sip. Visit us at our Lakeland or Gainesville locations, or shop online to get your favorite beans delivered right to your door. Start your day the Concord way, because great coffee isn't just a drink, it's an experience. Concord Coffee, where craft meets community. Make sure to visit concordcoffee.com to learn more. That's a blessing, man. Congrats to you, just, taking that step, man. That's a big part. I think, so many of us, when, the signs are there, we'll fight it. Like, human nature, we'll fight it sometimes, and sometimes we'll think we'll know more than anybody else about what's meant for us. Like, we didn't create ourselves. Only person that can guide our path is the creator.
Yeah.
So shout out to you, man. It's definitely not easy, man. So I'm proud of you for sure. But
thank you.
I know we talked about it behind the scenes, and you mentioned the World Cup, winning the World Cup. That's a huge accomplishment. But I wanted to ask you, some of your goals as a wrestler today.
Yeah, my biggest goal as a wrestler right now is to magnify the name of Jesus as I compete. Mm-hmm. So what that looks like is like how I compete. Like, I should be consistent. Mm-hmm. Like, I should have good effort. I should have good energy. I shouldn't be a dirty wrestler, like different things like that. And then, I think I should be successful. Like, I should be somebody who you can depend on, like doing the right habits, the right things in a different time. So if I'm supposed to be good at this thing, because God says that I am, like, I literally was about to retire. Like, I was done. Last year I was like, I'm done. I don't need to do this. Like, I've done it. Yeah. I want to spend time with my family. And God was like, you're not done. Like, you still got some more to do. So because of that, like, we have a goal. Our goal is 2028, man. Like, 2028 Olympics in LA. Come on, man. Yeah. It's in LA too. It's home. Like, come on, man. Yeah. So that's my goal. And if God like, I try to keep it one day at a time. Like, whatever your goal is, like, you got to make sure you're doing your goal. Like, you're pouring into your goal. You're planting good seed in your goal. But it might come a couple years from now. It might be like, no, you're not doing that. You're doing something else. But 2028 is where my eyes are set. My wife is a competitor as well. So, she started with band, and she was a champion in band. She did some time in, like, the political scene, and she got a really deep understanding of, like, how the world works in a lot of ways. So she was during the same time that, like, God took me on my journey. God took her on a journey right when we got back together of pageantry. Okay. So she represents a brand for pageantry right now. She is Miss New Jersey Elemental. She's competing to be Mrs. USA in January. All right. So she's really busy. Her platform it was birthed out of our testimony together. So the testimony I described about cleaning, she's been doing free service for the community for 3 years now. This is year 3. So it's called Keep New Jersey Clean. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of really exciting news that I can't share about just different things that she's doing, like big things. But she's went to all of the different states in New Jersey and picked up litter. But now God is moving her to go inside people's homes. So she's going to be offering a free decluttering services, specifically to mothers that are first-time mothers and new and expecting mothers. but to anybody who needs help. I've opened my time up to be her partner in that. And yeah, so she does keep New Jersey clean. I actually started a ministry. It's called Varsity. Varsity is 100% focused on God, but my ministry is wrestling. So I'm trying to teach really healthy habits. While my wife works on the outside, I'm working on the inside of people's head. So just talking about proper perspective, and most of my curriculum, pretty much all of my curriculum stems from the book of John. The light that came into the world. So I'm hoping to, travel the country. Next year, I'm doing a tour where I'm doing seminars in all 50 states. And I'm trying to make those seminars something that's viewable, not just for wrestlers and not just for wrestling parents, but for the general public. So this year, I'm just refining the product. And then next year, I'm trying to have, we already got, trying to get 15,000 people in the stands for this thing and trying to get a bunch of people in the crowd for this, but trying to show wrestling in a different way.
Definitely. That's dope. It's dope to see just how things have not only come together for you, but your wife, yourself and your wife, after everything that you guys, went through. And I wanted to ask you, because we just got done talking about forgiveness, how difficult was it for you guys to forgive each other so that you can move forward and be where you are now, strong?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think that we, just as human beings, our natural inclination is to hold on to what we have. So me and my wife, early on in this process, we talked about trying to operate with an open palm, which means that when things come into us or things that we don't like, because life is big and there might be a street that I drive down that pissed me off. There might be you know what I'm saying, right? There might be a, something I see on social media, something I hear, maybe some seed somebody else planted, some seed that the enemy planted, honestly, to, you can look at that and you can take that in and you can hold on to that and you can say, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, and these are the things that ain't me. Or you can open up your palm and ask God, what are you trying to do in me with this? What are you trying to grow in me? And ultimately, it stems with fear and our response to fear. I got a book from this brain surgeon. It's called Cognitive Dominance. And it really helped me. He talks about this 4-quadrant system of how we categorize fear and our responses to it. It really helped me because I struggle with fear as a man that doesn't look like how fear looks in women.
Yeah.
Women's fear may look like, avoidance, right? My fear may look like distraction or putting something else, or maybe my mood shift or something like that. So with so many things, because we hurt each other, for real, we've hurt each other. With so many things, we really had to take on new identity, in Christ, and say hey man, God, if you're trying to keep us in this, keep reminding us, because we're gonna keep asking you, because this is what we do. It's normal, man. We have to ask those questions, but we should be married to the bridegroom first, which is tough. And once I understood that, that's when, because there's levels to your relationship developing too. So my relationship with my wife, it came to a point where we could tolerate each other, which was that a very important point, because now the kids are together and different things. But for it to get clean, for the relationship to be clean, where your kids can look at you guys interact and know this is what I want in a partner. It took a lot of time, man. And it took a lot of those moments that came up and we were just I'm gonna let that go, because who am I? Who am I to, if I judge her based off of something that she said or did, or if I use that example, who am I to be forgiven? Christ forgave us and we all crucified him. And that's the thing that I think that we do have to understand as believers, we crucify him every day, man. So if I have to die to myself in a moment that's fleeting, that I can actually see the other side of, if it makes sense for both people to have a good relationship, as long as I'm being truthful, because there might be times where God say it, and then you say something and it'd be that's important too. Yeah. That's where we evolve. So I think that when we have time to reflect on those conversations on our own, we do have to be mature and be man, it's God's story, man. It's his story.
Sure.
And if he gives us a person to mature with in Christ, like, it's just a gift, man. It's just a gift.
That's powerful. I wanted to ask, you see a lot of wrestlers get into MMA at some point. Has that ever been something that crossed your mind when you were a little younger at some point in your career?
Yeah, no, I think, man, like, I think one of my interesting qualities is I've never been like a super far goal setter. Like, most of my goals have always been like, you know, like short term. Mm. It's a good thing, but it's a bad thing too. Like, I'm now getting into like a maturity level of like a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. Like, those things matter. A lot of guys nowadays like chose MMA, that path, because of the revenue, because of the money, right? And it's a huge spectacle. Like, dude, like, we're killing it. Like, wrestlers, they have dominated MMA, so it makes a lot of sense. I'm excited actually now that wrestling is starting to, the NIL really opened up the door to wrestlers starting to make really good money. Like, when I was in college, like, I didn't make anything. Yeah. I was just there, bro. But like, there's kids making having $1 million NIL contracts on a regular now, which is great because now they'll have more access to choices. And I don't think everybody. For me, I'm not big on getting hit in the face. Like, yeah. I don't mind you hitting me in the face, but when the cameras are on also and I have to explain it to my kids, like, it's just different, man. It's different. So the people who do that, like, mad respect. But like, I have a really good friend who fights, and Corey Anderson. He was actually Bellator most recently a champion. So he's a champion. Like, I see what it takes, man. Like, you having to harden your body, literally. Like, wrestling him, it's like wrestling like a tree, man. Like, that's thick. But just being around fighters and understanding how they operate, I think everybody should do a martial art. Like, have you ever done a martial art?
No, I've always been into boxing.
Come on, bro.
I haven't done. I did. When we were, I think, from kindergarten to first grade, they put us in, but it wasn't no like real martial arts. Yeah. It was more so like an after school daycare, and then if you want to get one side of it is karate, and I stayed up. What's the lowest one? White belt.
Yeah.
I said a white belt all year, man. But I had all the candy. Had all the candy. Had all the records on the Nintendo. But
let's go.
Yeah, but I never really got deep into martial art.
Okay.
But I definitely respect it. I was just telling my mother that yesterday. Like, no, they probably gonna hate me for this, but I feel like martial artists are the most like disciplined like fighters across the world. Boxers are, but you see a lot of boxers go out and they want to inflict that harm on people.
Yeah.
You see a lot of UFC guys, MMA guys, they want to go inflict that harm on people.
Yeah.
Martial arts teaches you the discipline as a human being, and that's something that I think all kids should learn. Like, you're not learning this just to be able to defend yourself. Like, it's teaching you about life, like how not everything requires a response. Like,
man,
I'm a huge fan of Jackie Chan. The Jackie Chan movie, we were just talking about it in the last interview, man. What was he always saying in those movies? I don't want any trouble.
Yep.
Jackie Chan, the baddest man on the planet.
I watched you talk about this, and it literally it's giving me chills right now, bro.
He's the baddest man on the planet, but that's what martial arts is. Like, you don't want to inflict that harm on people. Of course, you want to be able to defend yourself, but it's about the discipline that comes with it.
Yeah, no, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. Instant gratification is like, it's the thing that does us in as a civilization, as human beings. Like, instant gratification, like, we get that desire and then we act on it. For myself, like, I can't fight in a bar. Like, if I fight in a bar and I get arrested or something, then they're gonna see who I am, and then everything that I am and that God has built up in me is gonna now get turned on me because I used it for bad, right? To harm somebody else. A martial artist, like, you're essentially like walking around with a weapon, like, the whole time, always. So denying self, I think it is the key, man. Like, deny yourself there. Like, how disciplined can you get? And the people who are best at this, and again, like, I see myself as a great wrestler. Like, I'm great. I'm not worried about wrestling anybody in the whole world. Like, I feel like I could go toe to toe with anybody. You could be bigger than me. But there's some people who are the best ever, right? For those guys, like, my greatest ever as a wrestler, Jordan Burroughs. I had the privilege to be able to train with him on a consistent basis, because he was a team member, and because of we live proximally. I've been able to see what the greatest looks like up close, and the greatest looks like discipline. Yep. And when you think that they're gonna get out of sorts or get out of pocket, or discipline. And the best man, the best are disciplined. Okay. Yeah. So,
man,
you got it.
Man, it's been just dope sitting down with you, and I'm just looking forward to watching everything continue to blossom for you, because it's coming, man. Like, so I'm looking forward to watching the journey follow along, and I'm just glad that you reached out like that. People don't understand. Like, we live in a world where I think it's human nature if you don't get a hold of it. Ego, pride, it consumes if you don't. So just being able to reach out, like, and not having too much pride about yourself. Like, people used to laugh at me. I guarantee you, there were thousands of people that got DMs from me when I was trying to write my book and get it covered before it became a bestseller, get it covered on all these platforms, get my story out there. But like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Who is this guy? Who is this guy? Then they came back later. The book blows up, get a film made out of it. They're reaching back out to me. But, man,
I would love to read that, man.
You gotta be humble, like humble, and like can't be afraid to put yourself out there, man. Like, especially when we know we're ordained people. Yeah. So if I know that God has put something on my life, I'm not finna dim that light. I'm gonna put it out there. Like, I'm not gonna hold back out of fear. And this is me encouraging people out there. There are a lot of people that they're afraid of rejection. The worst thing they can tell you is no. Yeah. But you know how many people that I didn't expect to say yes ended up saying yes? You just never know. So you got to put yourself out there. So I appreciate you just reaching out, man. That says a lot about you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate you being bold in your faith. Continue to be bold in your faith, man. Like, no man knows the day nor the hour, but like, the generation that we live in is so connected, where people are so impressionable and everybody is like searching. Like, you see it, like, people are just searching. They want people to pour into them. And we know who the pourer is. Like, we know who it is. You have access to the pourer, and you know that everybody has access to the pourer. So like, like while I'm here, like I'm doing a clinic, a seminar for kids, and I'm telling them that what their body is. Like, you are the church. Like, you don't have to, you have access to your Father in heaven, man. You have access. So for you to be doing that on a platform that's stretching far and wide, and you could be doing anything to make money. Like, it's not about that. I know.
It's a lot of stuff I done turned down, because man, people will tell you. One thing I know for sure is God gonna always provide. I done had a situation where people come up to me and try to give me a whole bunch of money, but I knew, one, their spirit wasn't right, and it just didn't sit right with me. I would get the money back. And there's been situations where I would turn the money down when I needed it. Yeah. I'm like, it just don't sit right with my spirit. Yeah. And then God would give it to me in another way. I'm like, man, dang. The next thing I know is like, shoot, he done gave me double what they were trying to give me. It's like somebody reach out, yo, man, I'm trying to bless you, and a completely different spirit on them. So regardless, I know I'm covered.
Yeah, man. No, you're covered, man. Covered. Just keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm happy you had me on. Thank you for inviting me here. It's beautiful, beautiful studio. I'm a fan. Like, I'm a fan. Likewise. I wasn't a fan. I was looking, and then I just heard some things, and I was like, dang, okay, like, I like this brother. This brother. So I'm a fan. Like, I'll be supporting in any way I can. And no doubt, pass cross. So if you're ever in New Jersey, like, we're gonna lock in, because there's some stuff I think we can connect on for sure. For sure. And like, if you're ever in Jersey, like, don't get a hotel. Like, you could come stay at the crib. Like, we could just be family. Like, we could be family. Like, and growing this kingdom, man. Like, that's all I'm about right now. Like, I'm just trying to help where I can, and whatever that looks like.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it, bro.
So coming out of the Nate Jackson episode, very fun conversation with him. As always, great guy. But I'm going to go a little faster through that, because we've got a lot of football to talk about today. As we talked about last episode, we're going to go through AFC North and South and get your thoughts, get my thoughts, kind of get an idea of each division, see where we stand, see where we think they stand. And I wanted to start with the AFC North, specifically the Ravens.
Okay.
the Ravens added quite a bit in the offseason, but also lost a decent amount. They're an interesting story where they re-signed Derrick Henry and Rashad Bateman. They brought DeAndre Hopkins in. They kind of revamped part of their line. Some people left, some people came back. They brought Notebaum back in. And then they got two pretty good corners, Yair Alexander and Chibade Awuzie. As well as they drafted pretty well. In my eyes, they had one of the best drafts.
The Ravens always draft well.
Malachi Starks, Mike Green, Emory Jones, the tackle from LSU are the top 3 picks.
Mike Green might be one of my best draft picks. Man, he's a baller.
Mike Green was one of those dudes, like, before watching him in college, he was a game wrecker, but he was also, playing with Marshall, so he's playing those opponents. But then you see him at these pro days and combines and all of that stuff. Like he's a dog.
Yeah,
he's a dog. Sure. So I wanted to see what your thoughts are. Notable losses: Michael Pierce retired, Marcus Williams was released, and then obviously Justin Tucker. His situation, he was released. They bring Tyler Loop in, who supposedly went like 14 for 14 from 60 the other day. So, we'll see how that mends over. Yeah. But what are your thoughts on the Ravens?
Yeah, I'm excited. Like every year, the past few years, I thought the Ravens had a strong chance to win the Super Bowl, and then after they didn't win it, I would always go into like, man, that's their window. And then they come back with a better roster every year.
Yeah.
I don't really think it hurts losing Justin Tucker because if we're completely being honest, Tucker was starting to become a liability. He was missing a lot of kicks at this point in his career.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, he's been a staple on that team for a while, but he's kind of at this point, going downhill. Yeah. He's missing a lot of kicks for the team. Starks was a huge pickup for him. I love the Green pick. Starks was a huge pickup for him.
Yep.
Getting Yair, that was huge. Awuzie, that was huge.
Yep.
So the Ravens are in a situation again where they would go into the season being one of the top 5 rosters in the NFL.
Yeah.
So it ultimately comes down to can they get the job done? And
yeah. No, exactly. I think that's every offseason for them. They always have the tools, like you said. They always come back a little bit stronger. The only thing that I'm a little worried about while getting Awuzie and Yair is really good. Both of those guys have kind of had an injury history in the last few years, and they did lose Tre'Davious White, who's also another injury-prone guy, as well as Brandon Stevens. And I thought Brandon Stevens is one of the more underrated 2 cornerbacks in the league the last few years, opposite Marlon Humphrey. I mean, them bringing back Ronnie Stanley was nice. I still think that they have a good and great season. It's just, again, like, will the wheels fall off in the postseason? I would have loved to see them bring in or draft another wide receiver. Zay Flowers is spectacular. I love Zay Flowers. I wish that he was on the Patriots. D-Hop obviously has lost a step. Still a dog. Still going to make catches. Still has an insane catching radius. But, they didn't really bring in that extra help that I think that they... Like, Derrick Henry is always going to be helpful. Mark Andrews is always going to be helpful. But, like, I feel like they're, like, just one solid streaking receiver, away.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, like, that's not necessarily Lamar's game. He doesn't need to throw the ball super deep. He needs to grind out those things and have receivers that'll open the field so he can use his legs if he needs to. But I don't know. I think that I definitely think that they're going to win the division. I'll just say that. But I don't know how far they're going to get into the playoffs with this roster.
Yeah. Even when you go back and take a look last year, you saw the emergence of Bateman during the season. But when Flowers went down, even though that game with the Bills was a close game, you saw it hurt the team. I think they get that game, they win that game if Flowers is in the game because the defense has to defend the Ravens completely different with Flowers in there.
Yeah.
That being said, like, ultimately goes back to what you said. They got to have more pieces. Even though we've seen the emergence of Bateman, it's like you got to have that go-to guy. Just in case you go into a playoff game banged up, this guy can go get it done for you. And I don't see that guy outside of Zay that can be your go-get-it guy.
Yeah. That's my biggest concern for the team. Everywhere else is pretty good. I mean, they've obviously lost pieces everywhere, like every team does. But for the most part, they've brought a bunch in. But yeah, that wide receiver room is just the one. They've never. I guess the thing that's interesting is like Baltimore's never been a wide receiver place. Like
never.
They've always had like a wide receiver, whether it be Mike Wallace and Quan Bolden, like the other guys in the earlier years. But like they've never had, like they've always been like tight end town.
Yeah.
Play
good defense, run their rock.
Yeah. They've always had like Shannon Sharp or Mark Andrews or someone like that. So it's interesting. I'm very intrigued to see how they address that going forward. But they're definitely a solid squad, especially for the AFC North. Like the AFC North is going to be gritty. Speaking of our next one, the Steelers. They obviously added Aaron Rodgers, brought back Mason Rudolph, brought in DK Metcalf. I think for the Steelers are an interesting case because they did a lot of weird moves that apart feel odd, but together makes me really, really excited to see this team play.
Yeah.
Because even the next 3 wide receivers they brought back Ben Skoranek, who I thought was really good for them. They brought in Scotty Miller, the white guy from the Bucks, the streaky white guy from the Bucks, and they brought in Robert Woods, who I thought had a really, really fun Texans season, because he's not going to be a 1,000-yard receiver anymore, but he's a catch anything anywhere route runner. Throw him in a slant and he's going to run. Donald Parham, I think, was really good. I think he got hurt, but he's still a good signing. Jonnu Smith, bringing him in, he's a great player, especially when he's being relinked up with Arthur Smith as the OC. They brought in Malik Harrison, re-signed to TJ Watt, brought in Brandon Eccles, re-signed James Pierre, brought in Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slade, Deshaun Elliott, Juan Thornhill, and Chuck Clark.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they did what they've been doing a lot of, which is just getting a bunch of defensive pieces and then patching together as much offense as possible. But with the addition of DK Metcalf, they've already have a better receiving room, I think, than they did last year. I like George Pickens, but he's a different kind of receiver than a DK Metcalf, where DK can just run straight and catch over anyone. It's also a different receiver than Aaron Rodgers ever had.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. And they also had an interesting draft where they drafted defensive tackle in the first round, and in the third round brought in Caleb Johnson, who will try to, split carries with Tyler Warren. So it's another interesting team. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like a good amount of the pieces that they signed, bringing Jalen in, Slade at this point in his career. He's always been a consistent guy. You don't know how much you'll get out of him, but a guy like that with his experience is only going to make your team better. Then, of course, Jonnu Smith, man. I'm a big Jonnu Smith guy.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm excited to see what he does.
FIU legend.
Man, he's a baller. The thing that's going to be interesting for this team is Aaron Rodgers. At the end of the day, I know Mike Tomlin has had a great deal of respect for Aaron Rodgers over the course of his career, but we haven't seen Aaron Rodgers play elite football in a while.
No.
So what Aaron Rodgers are we going to get? He's been injured, and then when he was healthy, he didn't look good. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see, because we've always, in the history of the NFL with in any sport, with an Achilles tear, it's always the second year. Last year was the first year he's back. Doesn't have a great season. Also doesn't have a great team built around him. Has some great pieces. But the coach gets fired in the middle of the season. He might be to blame for that. He has a weird rapport with the Jets. But then, that you see this season, will be the first time that he's really able to bounce back physically. My concern with the Achilles tear is that he loses that mobility that he kind of has patented, where he can scramble left, right, drop back further than most, and then just throw bombs or find someone. It's an interesting team. It's seemingly built for an Aaron Rodgers-led offense with all of these pieces that they added. Robert Woods, in my head, plays so similarly to like a Randall Cobb. just a bigger version of him, you know, especially now in his career, now that he can't just be speed in certain areas. And Scotty Miller, you know, could easily be like a faster Jordy Nelson.
He take the top off that defense for sure.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting because they've got a good makeup. My biggest concern outside of Aaron Rodgers is the defensive backs. I think they signed a lot of safeties. You know, Darius Slay, I think, can still play corner at an elite level. Jalen Ramsey, I think, can still play corner at an elite level. But I think both of them, at the end of the day, will be closer to a safety than a cornerback. So at the end of the day, you know, you've got Joey Porter and a bunch of other just thrown together pieces. I mean, if any team can make it work, it's Mike Tomlin team. So I'm interested to see how they can figure it out. I definitely think that they're going to be fighting for the top spot in the AFC North. It's just if they can take those games off of the Ravens.
Yeah.
And then we can look at schedule in a little bit, but it's just, yeah, I don't think it's very conducive for them to really be a strong competitor.
This is going to be an interesting storyline. So Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season since being in Pittsburgh. But here's the interesting part. He's dealing with a person in Rodgers who I feel like, even though he's elite, he's one of the most overhyped elite quarterbacks in NFL history.
Yeah.
He looks great, has all the potential. One of the greatest skill sets you've ever seen. Doesn't have the rings to go with it. Doesn't deliver in the clutch. He's never been that guy. But he's going to look good and get you highlights.
Yeah, I mean, that's my favorite argument I ever get in when I was younger. Obviously, me being a Tom Brady guy, was who is the best quarterback in the league when it was Peyton, Tom, and Aaron. And everybody would be like, Peyton and Tom are the best quarterbacks because Peyton's got the MVPs and Tom's got the Super Bowls. But Aaron Rodgers is the most gifted.
Of course.
Which is interesting because, I mean, like, I agree. Aaron Rodgers is definitely the most gifted. But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, that doesn't win Super Bowls. That doesn't win championships. Yep. So, it just changes what greatness is to certain people. You know, like, in my head, greatness is, you know, winning.
Greatness is making the most out of not only what you were blessed with, but overachieving with it.
Yeah.
A guy like Tom Brady that was considered limited, man, you wouldn't have saw this career coming out of versus Aaron Rodgers. You look at his ability on the outside looking in, all things factored in, this is a guy that should get you 6 to 8 Super Bowls. Yeah. He only has you 1.
Yeah. Yeah, no, realistically. And even, I mean, the fact that he hasn't gotten to one besides that one is a very interesting, like, at least, you know, Brett Favre is in an interesting situation. You know, it's crazy because those two quarterbacks remind me so much of each other and they played together. They both only have 1 Super Bowl. They both really brought Green Bay back up after like a little bit of a drought period, whether it be when Brett Favre wasn't doing well or before Brett Favre got to Green Bay where they were kind of puttering a little bit. They're both so physically gifted. Brett Favre couldn't get out of his own way. But Aaron Rodgers is almost in that same category now where, you know, it's not his fault that he tore his Achilles necessarily, but it's his fault that he is burning all these bridges. Although I did recently watch that interview with him talking about what broke down between him and the Jets. And that's kind of, if I'm someone betting against Aaron Rodgers, that's what scares me, is the fact that the Jets kind of burned him very quickly.
Yeah, we've heard a few things about the Jets behind the scenes.
Yeah, so it's which, I mean, the Jets got rid of Sam Darnold. He has a borderline MVP season like 2-3 years later. I'm not saying that, like, I mean, we haven't seen anything from Zach Wilson or anything like that, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a situation where Aaron Rodgers is in that, like, Tom Brady in Tampa, well, F you, you didn't give me the money. You didn't believe in me. You tried to get rid of me. I'm going to go win with someone else. And that's I mean, a pissed off elite athlete is something you don't want to mess with. So that's honestly, you know, it all hinges on Aaron Rodgers. Like, I mean, like every other team that he's been on, you know, if he's an elite quarterback, then we could see some some elite upsets in
sure.
the division. Moving on from him, the Bengals.
Yep.
The Bengals are an interesting case because we've talked about them quite a bit because of the Shamar Stewart stuff. They just signed him. But we've been a strong proponent of they didn't do anything. They brought in Lucas Patrick, which I like Lucas Patrick as a guard. They re-signed Jamar and T, which we already knew. They brought Samaje Perine back, which I like Samaje, but he's kind of just like a piece together running back. They still have Chase. They brought back Mike Gesicki, who I thought had a really good season for them, on a 3-year, $25 million deal, which is a little expensive. They just basically re-signed a lot of pieces and then brought in a lot of defensive line. A lot of defensive line that I know about most of them. McTelvin Agam, Taven Bryan, TJ Slayton, all names that I recognize, but none of them are world beater, difference maker, and Ndamukong Suh in when he was 25, you know. And that's pretty much it. I mean, they drafted Shamar, which was nice, and then Demetrius Knight, which I kind of liked him at South Carolina, but other than that, they didn't really do too much in the offseason. They lost Jermaine Pratt, they released him, which in my head, I don't know what was going on physically there. I mean, he's playing for the Raiders this year, so he's obviously not hurt that bad. Jermaine Pratt was one of the best linebackers in the league, in the division. So that's concerning. Sam Hubbard retired. Obviously, they're having the Hendrickson mishaps. I think this is going to be the classic case of a Boise State in college, where it's their offense can get you 50 points, but their defense will let up 50 points. But I mean, they might surprise me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think the Bengals, even though we look at it, they didn't really do much in the offseason, and they haven't done much in this division. They got to the Super Bowl one time, but they're always a team that underperforms. But that being said, the Bengals in the AFC, they're the team everybody's always afraid of.
Oh, yeah.
Because when they get rolling, they can beat anybody, and not just beat you, whoop you.
Yeah.
It's just about whether or not they get rolling earlier, because they start off every season so slow that they're not able to come back from it later on in the year. So can they get a season started off early? And last year you said 50 points. They be putting up 40 points a game, but they couldn't stop anybody. Are they able to stop people this year?
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is you can. It's like a boxer, A lot of these heavyweight boxers don't have the fundamental defense, but they can hit hard. And you kind of see that, even with Dubois versus Usyk. Usyk, the Kansas City Chiefs, where they're built sneaky and they can hit you when they want to. And then Dubois kind of built the Bengals, where it's he's got some defense, but his big thing is throwing that right hand. So the Bengals are very interesting always because they can win any game. They're going to be a parlay nightmare, whether you have them in your parlay or you're betting against them in a parlay. But they're just, I mean, I don't want to say that they're mismanaged, but it feels like they're mismanaged. It seems like a draft, like we were talking about last week. It feels like a fantasy draft where you spent all of your auction money on Joe Burrow and 2 wide receivers, and then the rest of your draft is the third string tight end because you could only get him for $1. I mean, Gesicki's a great tight end, so that's a bad example, but you know what I mean. It's a very intriguing. The whole AFC North in its whole is really weird, but that one specifically, it doesn't make any sense to me. Just pay Hendrickson. Why was the Shamar Stewart thing even a problem? He's your pick.
Yeah.
He's your first pick. You didn't have a first round pick, so just pay him. And if you think he's a difference maker, then you definitely have to pay him. I think that they could easily be a dark horse, but I also could see them having 7 wins, depending on the schedule. I have to look at the schedule. And then moving on to the next team, the Browns.
Yeah.
Possibly even more intriguing than the Bengals, which is kind of hard to think about. They brought Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett in. They brought DeAndre Carter, who I actually really like as wide receiver. Deontay Johnson, who I really like as a wide receiver, but he's had some weird moments. They kind of revamped their offensive line with Jackson Barton, Cornelius Lucas, Tevin Jenkins. I really like Tevin Jenkins, but he had a really weird Rockies career with the Bears. Re-signed Myles Garrett to a bag. Brought in Julian Okwara. Brought in Joe Tryon-Shawinka, who I really liked on the Bucs. I thought that he may not be a big sack guy, but he was a good defender. Malik Collins, Jerome Baker, Devin Bush, Rayshon Jenkins, and DeMonte Casey.
Okay. Oh, DeMonte Casey. Yeah. I trained with him for the combine.
Yeah. Devin Bush and DeMonte Casey, Jerome Baker, Malik, I mean, all those names are big names. Rayshon Jenkins even. Like all those names.
Rayshon Jenkins is wow.
So like
Rayshon Jenkins is a local guy, man.
They brought in some really, really good defensive pieces. And their offense was already kind of all right, you know. So I'm interested to see. The quarterback battle is the thing that is the most weird to me, just because you bring in all of these players. You bring in Shadur and Gabriel. You bring in Pickett and Flacco, and Flacco's the only one that's played there before.
Yeah.
So it's they lose some pieces, they gain some pieces. The Browns are always going to be like a weird team where people forget who they get and stuff. They brought in Mason Graham, who I thought was a really good player, and then they obviously they have the weird stuff going on with Quinshon Judkins. He's the only player not signed,
and then he got into that trouble in the offseason. Yeah.
And that's the reason he's not signed. So, who the guy who you thought was going to be like Nick Chubb's replacement is now not signed and not practicing. And I think that's the most concerning thing to me is like they don't have a quarterback. Like they have 4 quarterbacks that don't know if they're the quarterback. I mean, Kenny Pickett, I believe, is not going to be the starting quarterback. I think they said it was either Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco, and I think Kenny Pickett just got hurt. So it'll probably be Joe Flacco. But then you have 2 rookies. Both have their own issues. I mean, Shadur, with everything going on, people thought he should have been drafted higher.
Yeah.
And then Dylan Gabriel being undersized. And then the Judkins stuff. The Judkins thing is the thing that really, really scares me as a person who loves fundamental football and knows that a lot of this stuff needs to rely on them being scared of your run game.
Yeah, fast.
And Kunchan was a good running back. So my hope is that they can kind of figure out what's going on. My hope is that his troubles are worse than some other troubles that people get into. So it's like hoping that he doesn't have to sit out for a long time. But they're kind of in a weird spot. I don't know I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think they're easily the 4th team.
Easily the 4th.
Yeah.
Every team that we've named so far has an elite QB on the roster, or their QB has been elite at some point. The Browns don't have that. Just in this game of football, it's hard to win without having an elite QB unless you have an elite defense. And we know they don't have an elite defense. They have good pieces, and Myles Garrett, but collectively they don't have a good defense. If that changes this year, we'll see. But I don't see any of the QBs that they have on the roster right now. You got Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett competing for the number 1 spot. You just mentioned Kenny Pickett, potentially being hurt. Flacco at this point in his career, he's not the young Flacco anymore. He was able to turn back the hands of time a few years ago, but will he be able to sustain that for a full season? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you have a situation where one of these young guys gets an opportunity later on in the season, and you got to see what your young guys have, because your older guys, they are where they are at this point. But we know what the storyline is going to be the whole entire year. Shadur Sanders.
Yeah.
What he does, the opportunities that he gets or doesn't get, that's going to be the storyline. And now you have reports coming out, questioning whether or not he'll even make the team. I believe that he will, but if he doesn't, man, this thing gets even more interesting. The Browns being the worst team clearly in this division, they're going to steal a lot of the attention from all these other teams.
Yeah.
And deservedly so. Like, you got Shadur Sanders, was an elite college football player, son of Deion Sanders, and there are going to be a lot of eyes on him. I don't think they're going to be a good team, though.
No.
I just don't see it.
It's hard for me to picture them being competitive in any way. I mean, at the end of the day, I'd have to look through we're about to go through the AFC South, which is another division that has a lot of intriguing teams that could be really bad. But I think the Browns could easily be one of the worst teams in the AFC, depending on how they go. And I don't want that to happen because I really like their coaching staff, and I think that they're I think their organization had a chance to turn it around and then just kind of fumbled it. So we'll see what happens. I think the funniest thing about this conversation, though, is the Joe Flacco not being elite part of your argument.
Yeah.
Because people, that was a big conversation for a long time. Is like, is Joe Flacco elite? He's won a Super Bowl. I think Joe Flacco was elite for those 2 months.
I think for those 2 months, Joe Flacco was a bad dude. Man.
That team beat my Patriots into the ground. So, but no, I mean, you're exactly right. I think that's going to be the most interesting thing is like Shadur will garner so much attention. It'll be very not to say that Colorado was one of the worst teams in the Big 12, but they weren't like one of the best teams in the Big 12 the last 2 years that he was there. But they garnered so much attention that it's going to be very similar where it's like you've got 3 teams kind of throwing haymakers and trying to win this division. You got the Browns, who will be lucky to go 500 or even come sniff 500.
Yep.
And then everybody's going to be interviewing Shadur if he's on that squad. That's the only thing that I also think might be against him for making the roster. If he's a practice squad player, it makes it a little bit easier to be like, all right, he's developing. We drafted him in the 5th round. But I think also the thing that you could say is like before this off season, when they drafted 2 quarterbacks and signed Flacco and traded for Pickett, it was pretty obvious that they were going to try and get rid of either Flacco or Pickett. And if Pickett's hurt, they can just put him on an injury list and then keep 3 quarterbacks. So it's going to be very interesting seeing just how the whole thing shapes up. We're going to do this at the end of every division, but I want to kind of talk about... I have 5 sort of hitting point questions to ask both of us, just to kind of gauge our thoughts and feelings for the division. Rookie, what rookies are we looking forward to in the division? It can be any kind of rookie. It can be a rookie that's not playing if it's Shadur, obviously. But what are your thoughts?
I'm looking forward to Malachi Starks, man. That's the guy we talked about. The Ravens, making that run to the Super Bowl. Them losing what they lost last year, losing Marcus Williams. He's a guy that will be able to step in early and make a difference. He was great at Georgia. Can he come in and be a piece that can get them to the next level? You see the guys that they have on that defensive side of the ball, the Humphreys, all these guys that can play ball at a high level. Can he come make this defense better from day one? That's my guy.
Oh yeah, he was a dog at Georgia. It would be nice to see what he can do. Mine is also on the defensive side of the ball, Shamar Stewart. I think that with all the drama going around him, he's going to have a lot of pressure to perform. But I also think that I said he was a 2nd round pick. He's a 1st round pick. I didn't mean to mess that part up. But I think that if he's what he thinks he is, if he's what they think he is, and he can pressure opposing quarterbacks, that could really, really help this defense that needs some help.
Yeah.
If he puts up like a 20 tackles for loss season or a 30 QB pressure season, we could easily see that like some no-name names that we don't know yet, cornerbacks having bigger seasons too, because these quarterbacks will try to get the ball out quicker, which means that the offense has more chance for them to score on the Bengals. Honestly, I think looking at their D-line, that's where they need to perform the most. So he's going to need to be the anchor of that too if they want to have him for the rest of his career. The next question is vets that could surprise us or make a difference. I think we mentioned like Aaron Rodgers. For me, I think the biggest one, honestly, it might be D-Hop.
Yeah.
Because I haven't written him off necessarily. He made some really good plays in the last few years. If he can have a 750-yard season with like 8-9 touchdowns, opposite like an 1,000-yard season from Zay Flowers, that might be it. You know, or Rashad Bateman or any of these receivers. I think that he could easily that could open it up so much that, you know, if you have 2, 3, 4 options, it can really make it so Lamar can, you know, cook.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I got Deontay Johnson, man.
Okay.
He's a guy, you know, we've seen him play, you know, great football when he was locked in Pittsburgh, but we haven't seen that player since. So can we get a locked in Deontay Johnson that gels with the locker room? Because when he's on, he's a guy that can help your team out. And we talked about them not having, you know, the best quarterback situation. You know, so having good receivers in your locker room helps a QB out early on in the season. So Deontay Johnson is the guy for me. And if he comes in opposite of Jerry Jeudy and is able to perform, he helps his QBs out a lot.
100%. I love Deontay Johnson. I've always been a big fan of his when he was with the Steelers specifically. Him being back in the division, third team on the division, but him being back in the division is also another fun talking point. Something that may surprise us, whether it be a team, a player, a series outcome.
Someone that surprises us. Oh, man. I don't even think this is a surprise. I think this is going to be the first season. I know you said they're going to be one of the best teams in the division. I think this is the first season where we see Tomlin have a losing record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That would be interesting. Mine is sort of tied to that, but like with a different team. I think that we could easily see. I haven't looked at the schedule, but we could easily see the Bengals like either run the table outside of the division and really struggle in the division, or run the table in most of the division and then have a struggle outside of the division. Just because division opponents always play each other so differently. It would be very interesting to see. I mean, like, you can almost chalk up the 2 Browns wins depending what's going on, but you never know because it's so chippy. And that's that's honestly how the Bengals started, where they were a dark horse and they came out of nowhere and started just starching people, made it to the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow establishes his legacy. I'm very interested. The Browns and Bengals are 2 teams that I'm very interested to see in different ways. Like, either are the Browns going to be a train wreck, or are the Bengals going to overperform what they are in my mind? Who will win the division?
Oh man, I'm gonna go with the Ravens. They've been consistent, so I'm gonna just roll with them.
Yeah, I think I'm also with the Ravens. Kind of going opposite your Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Steelers are very close to the second. I think I don't know what the odds are. Maybe I'll look that up in a second. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're an underdog, but they're closer than people think, just because of the Aaron Rodgers effect and all of the defensive back help that they got. And that kind of brings me to who's the dark horse of the division. Who do you think has a chance to upset? It could be a player, but I was mostly thinking team.
All day it's the Bengals.
Yeah,
the Bengals, if they get a good start, that's why I had the Steelers as the team that I feel like may have their first losing season under Tomlin. If the Bengals get a good start to their season and this defense is on point, then they can even put the Ravens in the situation where they can possibly take over the Bengals can take over the division.
Yeah.
The Bengals are easily one of the teams where they have so much talent and they've been up and down. They're either going to the Super Bowl or they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
But if this team starts off early, starts the season fast, and that defense is able to show up, because you've seen what the offense can do, they can easily be a team that surprises people and pulls this division out.
100%. Also, shout out Zach Taylor. Just found out he was the reason that Ryan Tannehill got to start at the Dolphins. He was the quarterback's coach that made the
Oh,
decision.
snap.
So I mean, Zach Taylor, he's an interesting coach because they always have those slow starts, but then they always end up ramping into a fun season. Definitely, they're the dark horse, 100%. Moving on, next division, AFC South.
One of the worst division in AFC.
The worst division in the AFC, but there's a lot of fun storylines, a lot of fun talking points. Specifically, starting with the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
They completely rebuilt. I don't know, like outside of C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson and those pieces, those foundational pieces, Nico Collins, they completely they added a bunch to both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. Nick Chubb, Braxton Berrios, Christian Kirk, Justin Watson, Irv Smith re-signed with them, Trent Brown, Cam Robinson, Ed Ingram, Laken Tomlinson, all on offensive side of the ball. And they re-signed Derek Barnett. They signed Danielle Hunter to an insane contract that I did not realize was this huge. 1 year, $35.6 million.
Sheesh.
That's crazy. Darryl Taylor, Mario Edwards, Fadakasi re-signed with them. Sheldon Rankin signed with them. Nick Neiman, EJ Speed, Damon Arnett, Arthur Mallett, Derek Stingley re-signed with them. They traded for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Mm-hmm. They re-signed Petrie and Stewart, both safeties. And they brought in Tremont Smith, who's a really good returner. Like, they completely rebuilt. And then even, like, in the draft, bringing in Jaden Higgins is insane. Mm-hmm. And from all accounts from training camp, he's been a monster. I think that it's closer than some people are going to think between them and the next team. Mm-hmm. But I think that they're easily the best roster with the best quarterback and probably the best coaching staff. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think for sure. I think they're the top roster for sure. And then you look at the coach, DeMeco Ryans, and what he's been able to bring to the table for that team. And there are so many weeks. Like, go back and look at that Lions game last year. Yeah. They gave the Lions fits. And this is before the Lions had all the injuries during the season. DeMeco Ryans is a team that gives a lot of teams problems with the complexity of his defenses, how he's able to mix in pressures, all these things. And then C.J. Stroud, he's going to come into the season motivated. Had kind of, sophomore slump last year. I think you're going to see more of him be more like his rookie year and elevate from that form. And then Nico Collins is a guy, he dealt with the injuries last year, but when he's playing, he's big time. And I think that the pieces that they brought in are just going to make this team better, and you're going to be able to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Higgins is a great stopgap, too, for the Tank Dell injury. People are saying that he looks like if Nico Collins was cloned and put on the other side. People are like, he's just that good. He's playing that good. And I've been I love Nico Collins. This game is so fun to watch. It's going to be an intriguing season for them. It just happened. It just matters. Like, injuries are going to be the biggest thing. Yeah. And then that O-line. I mean, the O-line that they brought in, I like all of those names, but most of them have had moments where they've been super streaky. I mean, Trent Brown was with the Patriots, and for a long time, people always joked that he could only play good for the Patriots. Cam Robinson was a big reason that the Jags had almost like a turnstile for a long time, and then he got traded to the Vikings. Ed Ingram on the Vikings was a little bit of a harder sell for a lot of people to be a starting offensive guard. I like Laken Tomlinson, but it's a similar deal where he's, they completely revamped that whole offensive line, and all of them are really fun and good pieces. But it's going to be it's just whether or not they can play as a cohesive unit. And then if they can play as a cohesive unit and they can let up less sacks than they did last year, C.J. Stroud will sling the ball, get 30+ touchdowns, and they'll win the division and be a playoff team.
Yep.
Jacksonville. One of the most intriguing teams, just because Doug Peterson no longer there. They bring in the offensive coordinator from the Bucs. He can't say Duval right, but he's, from all accounts, almost like a QB whisperer, which is perfect. Perfect for Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence needs to get out of this funk because we've seen him in college. He was thought to be the next Peyton Manning. People were like, he's the most sure thing quarterback since Andrew Luck. And he's had a weird career between throwing picks and getting hurt and having all of this success, but also having almost no success.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's right now he's shaping up to just be Pro Bowls, which is tough because you would thought that he would have been a multiple-time MVP, multiple-time Super Bowl at least appearance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to see what he can cook up with Travis Hunter. They said that he was going to be more of a wide receiver, but now he's like splitting. You know, now like the snap counts between the last 4 practices and in the preseason, he's been splitting it in half. So it's like he might play another weird Colorado role. And then they also had like an interesting interesting additions where they brought in Nick Mullins as a good backup quarterback. He reminds me a lot of Chase Daniels back in the day. I don't know if you remember Chase Daniels.
Yeah, I remember Chase Daniels.
Because everybody thought that he was like, Chase Daniels is like the quarterback coach that is also playing quarterback. Nick Mullins, I feel like, is a similar situation because he was on the Vikings, he was on the Niners, he's been on these really big, good offensive teams. De'Ami Brown, who had a really good season last year,
He did.
but they paid him 1 year, $10 million, which is a lot for that kind of receiver. You'd think that because of getting rid of Christian Kirk, he could slot himself in there. Hunter Long, who I always liked as tight end, but like he's not going to be your stopgap. He's also probably going to be their backup. They brought in Chuma Edoga, the offensive tackle, Robert Hainsey, the offensive tackle, Patrick McCarry, the guard, who I actually really like. He was coming from the Ravens, I believe. Either Ravens or the Chiefs. I can't remember now. I think it was the Ravens.
Okay.
And they brought in Jordan Lewis, Dwayne Smoot, Eric Murray. You know, they re-signed their punter. So, you always know when that makes the list that it was an interesting offseason. And the biggest acquisition literally was just drafting Travis Hunter.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a very intriguing. Every team's intriguing, but this one is extremely intriguing because I think that this reminds me so much of those teams that when they get a coaching change and they get a little bit of personnel change, they can make a little bit more of a run. Mm-hmm. I don't know if to use a basketball analogy, you remember when before Steve Kerr was the coach of the Warriors, they had an interesting team with Monta Ellis and Steph Curry and all this stuff. And they had a decent run. You know, they made it, second round of the playoffs, I believe. Mm-hmm. It was interesting. They ended up trading Monta Ellis and doing all this stuff, bringing in Steve Kerr, really putting all of their chips in the middle of the table with Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson. And then they win championships. I think that this team is the closest to that kind of situation where they have Brian Thomas Jr., they have Trevor Lawrence. Their tight end is really fun to watch. You know, they bring in Travis Hunter, who can be a game changer on both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. I think that they could genuinely turn some heads with the games that they win. I think that they're going to be chippy, and I think they're closer to the Texans than people are going to think, just because the Texans have like their O-line is a little suspect. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think this is going to be between a division that's between the Texans and the Jags. And if Liam Cohen is able to be that QB coach for Lawrence that he hasn't had and is able to get something out of him that nobody else has had, you have a situation where these guys make a huge splash in the division and upset the Texans because he has the ability. It's just about putting it together at this point, and they got a lot of the pieces, to do it. And Liam Cohen, he knows offense. He knows how to get the best out of his players and utilize different skill sets. So are they able to bring it together? And ultimately, that defense last year they were terrible. So defense able to stop anybody this year.
No, 100%. Yeah, Liam Cohen. Yeah, I'm very excited to see what he can do. It feels. It's hard to use these kind of words in a football context because at the end of the day, it's just a game. But it feels almost like Trevor Lawrence has like a PTSD response to like Urban Meyer and the coaching that he received in that first year.
Yeah,
where it's just one of those. It was such a bad situation, and Doug Peterson tried very hard to come in and mend it. But we've seen also, this is the second time we've seen Doug Peterson almost like completely flip, where it's just you're his best friend and you're doing an amazing job, but all of a sudden when you're not winning, he starts throwing people under the bus. You saw it with Carson Wentz. You see it with Trevor Lawrence in that team. So it's like you need almost like a Liam Cohen, where it's like Baker had a very similar situation where he had such a hard time bouncing back from that Browns heartbreak. You have a unique chance to really massage not the ego in a bad way, but massage the ego of your quarterback and really be like, dude, you're really good and you've got really good pieces. And there's a reason that we re-signed you and we want you here for the rest of your career. So I think if they can really fix, whatever is going on with him physically with the line, but also mentally, I think that'll be the biggest hurdle.
You got to have a coach that, I don't know how Liam Cohen is wired, but you got to have a coach that comes in and they're emotionally intelligent. I think of a situation with Doug Peterson. He comes in and he's supposed to be the guy that Trevor Lawrence is able to lean on and go to the next level. But then once you start seeing these headlines about your job being on the line, now you're throwing guys under their bus. It's like, no, listen, all of that stuff is cluttered. I got to go get this guy better, because if I get him better, we can win games. If Liam Cohen is able to come in and be that guy, Trevor Lawrence has the best season of his NFL career. But it starts with the leadership. Remember the Titans, they said attitude reflects leadership, captain. If you got a leader that is all over the place once chaos starts happening, what do you think your QB is going to do? They're following your lead. So 100%. Liam Cohen has to be the peace in the midst of chaos, and Trevor Lawrence will have his best season of his career.
100%. And you see, even in college football, it's even more apparent with quarterbacks. You see these coaches that are grasping to their security, they have such a hard time putting themselves into the quarterback's position or helping their quarterbacks get through these moments. Every quarterback's going to have a moment where they're going to mess up. And I think that Saban, half of the Saban, Kirby, even Lane Kiffin in the last couple of years, they've all had moments where they've been like, all right, that's my quarterback. We're not shying away from him. We're not changing it up. That's my quarterback. And then you see, even with Nick Saban, when he has to make that decision, it's the last resort. When he switches to Tua from Jalen, that was his last resort, and he didn't like to do that. He didn't want to do that, but it was just they needed him in that certain game. I mean, Lane Kiffin with Jackson Dart last year. We'll talk about the Giants eventually, but he had some moments where he cracked and he didn't figure it out, and he's still young. He's like 21. So it's like Lane Kiffin being able to be like, you're good, you're my quarterback. I mean, maybe that's more by necessity than anything at Ole Miss, but still, you need to have that rapport with your quarterback, and I think Liam Cohen is the perfect person for Trevor. The
Bama example you use is perfect, because there's no play, I think, like Alabama in college football.
No.
I'm talking about having your head on a platter just after winning by 30 points, and the fan base is just upset. So for Nick Saban to continue to stand by Jalen Hurts during that time when the fan base wanted him out of there, they wanted to give Tua a look. Saban stood by him, and that gives a QB confidence. Like, okay, coach believes in me. But when you're all over the place, then your QB, he's rattled all the time. He doesn't know what to think. Like, he's going in there, can't read defenses because it's too much in his head. QB, Thomas Castellanos talked about it when he came on the show. You have to be in the right mental state to play quarterback at a high level. And when you're a coach that's all over the place with your quarterback, you're setting them up for failure.
And you see, another one that pops in my head is Coach O. With Joe Burrow. You see Joe Burrow.
Go Tigers.
I love Coach O. You see Joe Burrow, and he's bouncing around. He was at Ohio State. He kind of didn't get the start there. I mean, they've kind of fumbled some quarterbacks in the past, but goes to LSU, doesn't have an amazing season, but has a good season. Coach O's like, no, you're my guy. You're my guy. And then you see Joe Burrow is like a sixth-year senior, have the most electric offense in years, and win a championship, and then get drafted number 1. So it's basically you need to just pipe Trevor Lawrence up, be like, dude, you're the man, you're the man in Jacksonville. Everybody loves you. You're the best quarterback they have ever had. I love Blake Bortles, and I love all of those old quarterbacks, Byron Leftwich, all of them. But he's the best quarterback they've ever had, fundamentally. So it's like, I'd love to see him actually perform. It's a very...
I don't know if Liam Cohen a motivator type coach. I don't really know.
I mean, I think from what I've heard, he was a big reason why
Baker
figured it out. And I mean, I love Baker.
Yeah.
Baker's full confidence, but you could tell even when he was at the Panthers, like he was rattled. And his best situation since leaving the Browns outside of the Bucs was when he played for the Rams, and he came in that one game, and ended up winning him like a Thursday night football game. And it's because Sean McVay he's a good coach, I mean, and like, I'm not to say I love Todd Bowles, but Todd Bowles has not been known as like specifically a quarterback whisperer. He's a defensive coach.
Yeah.
So it all stems from the coach for the Titans, and then Liam Cohen.
Yeah, I would if I'm Liam Cohen, this would be Liam Cohen. If you see this, Coach Cohen, you see this. Like, listen, I'm bringing Trevor in. Man, there's a reason that you were the number one pick. There's a reason that all this hype was surrounding you coming out.
Yeah.
You mentioned with Peyton Manning and all these guys. You have the ability. You have the mindset. You can do it.
Yep.
Yeah, things may not have played out the way that you wanted it to, but you see what I did with Baker and Tampa. This is not me to toot my own horn, but listen, I got credentials.
Yeah.
We're gonna work with you. We're gonna get you to the next level. If you're willing to work and you're willing to get there with me, let's do this thing. Yeah, we're gonna go through some adversity. We may run into some bumps along the road, but trust me, I got you. You're my guy. I feel like you're one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Let's get it done.
Yeah, he went there for him. That's at the end of the day, he went there for him. But moving on, we spent a lot of time on the Jags, but moving on, it's just an interesting story. The Titans brought in Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson. I think those are two really under the radar, very good wide receiver signings. I love Van Jefferson. He's one of my favorite. And then Tyler Lockett might lose a step, but he's still...
Tyler Lockett might lose a step. He just got married, and now I guess he was absent all his life.
Yeah.
Now he's having sex, man. Is he gonna still be the same player?
It's like
I don't know, man.
Like the Floyd Mayweather thing, where he wouldn't do that before a fight. Like he would abstain himself for like 2 months before a fight, so he would have the built up anger. They brought in the most suspect signing for the Titans was they brought in Dan Moore for 4 years, $82 million. You remember that one? I'm all about him getting his money, but it was a weird situation with him with the Steelers. It was one of those, like, he let up a lot of sacks. He didn't have the greatest situation. Easily could turn around and be the anchor of an offensive line. With the Titans, it was a very weird. Everybody was like, that was the weirdest signing I've seen. I hope he does well, because I always picked him up in Madden because I thought he was a underrated dog, and he was never the starter then. Brought in Kevin Zeitler, who I really like. That's a really fun, underrated offensive line signing. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Lorenzo Carter just retired. Brought in Jermont Jones, who I think is really fun. Sebastian Joseph Day, I always liked. Cody Barton, Xavier Woods, and then they completely revamped their special teams with Joey Sly and Johnny Hecker. And then obviously, bearing the lead a little bit, they drafted Cam Ward number 1.
Yeah.
From all accounts, I've heard that Cam Ward is a spectacular leader already.
Oh, you can see it.
He makes me want to watch Titans games. I don't know about your thoughts, but
yeah, he doesn't make me want to watch Titans games, but I'm interested in seeing how they do. I'm interested in seeing how he grows. But let's be honest, these last two teams in this division absolutely are terrible, and there's a reason that the Titans had the number 1 pick. And it sucks too, because Cam Ward comes in, and then a guy that you were supposed to rely on as an organization, Burks, he's injured. Yeah. He's a guy that's been injured, I feel like, since he's been there. But Cam Ward is a guy that I feel like from day one is going to come in. He's going to have some growing pains, but he's going to make this team better. So I'm interested to see, the growth that they make. Not really too much that I'm looking forward to outside of that, outside of Cam Ward, because the past few years, the Tennessee Titans haven't been an exciting team to watch, and that's why they haven't been on TV.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to see how he can do, just because in that adversity you see quarterbacks thrive or crumble. I think he's got a good toolbox of fundamentals. I'm very excited to see how he can do. They'll definitely be on like the fourth box of my 4 box every once in a while, just because. I mean, he might be a fun fantasy quarterback. I don't know, but I don't think that team's going to do well at all. Brian Callahan, very interesting coach too. Will Levis, did you see the Will Levis stuff where he
got injured?
He's injured, but he elected to get the surgery this month instead of doing it a couple months ago because he's been injured for a while. I don't know what the ins and outs are of that story. You never know. It could be a situation where it's like he thought he could rehab it and then be fine, but then he couldn't. But the fan base is not happy.
What do you think about they asked Cam Ward in a question that after one of the practices about the Will Levis situation, and if he was paying attention to it, he just told him he was kind of just focused on Cam Ward at the time.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was a lot of people upset about it. I was like, man, listen, this guy, he's come in, he hasn't even been able to really build a relationship with this guy for it to bother him like that. It's not like they've just, we've been locked in college football for 4 years. Like one thing people don't understand about the NFL, it's not like college. No. Like college where you're hanging out with guys and all this stuff. Man, most of these guys are going home to families and you don't really deal with each other outside of the locker room. So even though it's a bond in the locker room, it's not like how college was. Like it's like, I mean, this guy, we just went for wings with offensive linemen. We go every Thursday. It's a whole different bond in college versus in the NFL. You have a guy on a team that, you're fighting for each other on the field, but like outside of that, it's like, oh man, get out of my face.
Yeah.
So, man, it's a guy, he's locked in, he's focused on getting the team better. I don't see an issue with his response.
No, 100%. I think that he said something like with the Traylon Burke stuff, like right before he got hurt, they were asking, like, he was talking about how excited he is to work with him. He's like, as long as you can stay healthy. As long as he can still stay healthy, we'll be using him a lot. And he got hurt. He broke his collarbone.
One thing I've noticed about Cam Ward, he's that guy that's going, and how is it going to be taken in the media? He's that guy that's going to say what everybody's thinking. Yeah. He says it.
He's the same swag in my as like a Ben Roethlisberger in my head. Like when Big Ben would talk to the media, he would just kind of shoot it straight. And people hated it, people loved it. Similar types too, just like big bodies that can sling it. Be interested to see if he can shed as many runners as as many rushers as Big Ben. I'm just excited. I always love watching the rookie quarterbacks. Quarterback's one of the most intriguing positions, especially when they're in the young phase of their career. So I'm just excited to see what he can do. Moving on to possibly the worst team in the AFC, but there's some really good pieces.
Yeah, even with this one, even with them, I think this is going. Even though they're not a good team, it's going to be one of the more interesting QB battles of the offseason for sure.
Yeah, the Colts. They brought in Daniel Jones, 1 year, $14 million. I've always been kind of like a Daniel Jones hater just because one of my best friends is a Giants fan. When he had that one season, like 2-3 years ago when he got that big extension, you could see the vision of like him being a very, very good quarterback. And that's why I'm excited about him on the Colts. Shane Steichen is a good offensive coach. You saw him with the Eagles. You saw him try and piece it together with AR. He just needs consistency. Not necessarily consistency in play, just consistency in the body. So I'd be interested to see if Daniel Jones could bring him that consistency. They brought in Khalil Herbert, and then they brought in Charvarius Ward and Cameron Bynum and Corey Ballantyne. Those are like really their only additions besides drafting Tyler Warren, JT Tuamalu, Justin Whaley, a bunch of other players. Riley Leonard down the line. I didn't realize that. It's a weird team.
Yeah. It's
a really weird team. I like Michael Pittman. I like Jonathan Taylor. I like AR. I like Mo Cox. Their offensive line is always good. Their defensive line is always decent. I mean, this is another one where I could see them upsetting a lot of teams, but also I could see them going like 2-13, 2-14.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your thoughts are, but
I think it's a situation. You got two guys We talked about it a bit, earlier. Him and AR competing, two guys that had a great deal of adversity. AR is a guy now. You can make it or break it year. Now it's like, hey, we drafted you early in the first round. What are you gonna do? Now we got a guy, Daniel Jones, coming in, who was also a first round pick, but things didn't work out with him at his last stop, and he's hungry as well. Yeah. So you guys got to fight it out. This is really, you got two QBs. It's really their make it or break it year.
Yeah.
Or they're gonna find themselves kind of phased out of the NFL. And so it's gonna be interesting to see. And like you said, I like Jonathan Taylor, like some of the pieces that they got over there. And they're another one of those weird situations. Just like you said, they can lose a lot of games, or they got the pieces to shock some teams and make a run in this division.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how their schedule plays out. Yeah. They're such a weird team. Something that would be interesting too to me, and I'm not to open this dialogue because it's always a dialogue whenever it's a scramble first quarterback, specifically when they're not a white quarterback. I wonder if AR would be open to, just being a gadget player at some points.
Yeah.
Not necessarily I could easily see Daniel Jones throwing it or chipping it to AR, get AR a couple runs, make him not the next Terrell Pryor, because Terrell Pryor was a completely different makeup of quarterback, but Taysom Hill, someone who's very, very uniquely useful, I don't want to see that, because I think that he actually could be a really good quarterback, but also I wouldn't be surprised if, in this offense, if Daniel Jones wins the job, if they're hey, you have an opportunity to showcase your talents, will you do it? And I think at that point it's just, whether or not he wants to throw that narrative out there, because there's still, Taysom Hill got paid a bunch of money to do what he does.
Yeah.
You could easily be, and he's a big body. If he can catch, if he can run, that's the biggest thing, is his throwing has just been suspect, specifically in the NFL. He had great moments with the Gators, but the NFL is just a different game. It's faster, harder to read defenses. Everybody's the best player that you ever played. So I'm intrigued. That one's such a weird situation.
Now, I would, even like you said, if Daniel Jones wins the job, I would definitely take a look into that, because regardless of if AR wins the job or not, he's still one of the best athletes on your team, period.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in keep putting your best athletes on the field. So 100%. Find a way to give them the ball. The only issue is if you use him in that way, he's a guy that's been known to get injured a lot. Does he stay healthy?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the interesting thing too, is at that point, how do you adjust your body type? He's been working out like a QB, in a different way.
Yeah.
You work out as a running back or a tight end. He's tall. He could easily be something crazy like that. I'm just very interested to see, because you see that it works so many times with these guys that are in quarterback rooms that are extremely athletic. They make Julian Edelman, another one, quarterback in college, comes to the NFL and just, he was a different situation. He wasn't drafted in the first round as a quarterback. I don't know. There's so much promise with AR. I think that he easily could be an NFL player forever, for 15 years, if he decides, if he can either get the opportunity at quarterback and really learn, or decides to go down that route.
Yeah.
And I think that, Trey Burton, that's another example of a dude who played quarterback but transitioned to tight end.
And if Trey Burton can do it, and Trey Burton was a decent athlete, AR is 10 times the athlete Trey Burton was. So if Trey Burton can do it and have the solid career that he had, man, AR could do it.
Yeah, and I think AR could easily become a top tier anything. He can
be a solid dude.
He can be the best of anything he wants to be in the league. It just depends on if he can stay healthy and if he can get the opportunity. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out. The fact that they paid Daniel Jones $14 million makes me think that it's going to be hard for them not to give him the job.
They know what they have with AR. You've seen these struggles and My thing is if he can put that ego to the side, like I know a lot of guys, they don't want to put that pride to the side. But one thing we always say with the NFL, when those checks stop coming, they stop coming.
Yeah.
So if you're a person that's able to be on the roster and still make an impact on your team, man, well, you can't pass up those big checks. You can't, there's not a lot of jobs in the real world that are going to pay you that type of money.
Yeah.
So put your ego to the side. Know that you collecting huge checks and get an opportunity to live out your dream.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that he's not built like a regular QB.
No.
He's a solid, well put together guy, and that's him working out like a QB in the offseason.
Yep.
Imagine him putting in the work like another guy. AR is a guy that can put on a lot of size, a lot of muscle. He's very athletic, can run, and give a defense a lot of issues.
100%. I think that he'd be like I said, a spectacular whatever he wants to be. So now that we've gone through it, what rookies are we looking forward to the most in this conference or this division?
I think it's kind of, oh man, the obvious one, of course, for everybody is Travis Hunter.
Yep.
But I say Higgins.
Okay.
Yeah, Texans,
like that
man.
one.
Yeah, I think that'll be one that'll be interesting to see. Like you said, with Tank Dell being out, Stephon Diggs not being there anymore. Higgins is going to be a guy that gets a lot of opportunities early on. So him coming back and being able to be around a guy who I do feel like could be an elite quarterback in the NFL, as long as they block for him, he's going to get opportunities. He's going to be able to shine early on.
Yeah, I think mine is Tyler Warren with the Colts. I saw those Penn State games. There were some times where he was the best player on the field.
Yeah, he was balling.
And the only other player that would be even comparable was on his team, Abdul Carter. So it's like, it's such a weird. He's such a shifty tight end, but he's got the size and the strength and the speed. I'm very interested, especially if it's either quarterback that wins that scenario is going to need a tight end as an outlet. So I'm that one. He's mine.
Who's the old tight end for Peyton Manning that was so consistent for so long? It was Dallas? What?
Oh, Dallas. Oh my goodness.
Was Dallas Clark?
Dallas Clark.
Yeah. Okay. That's the last time the Colts had a great tight end.
Yeah, unless you count Eric Ebron.
Yeah.
for like a season. They've always pieced it together, but no, 100%. I think Tyler Warren could be, T.J. Hawkinson, that level, a little bit higher. I mean, he could be higher if he wants to be. It just depends. Tight end is such a hard position because you got to block too, and he's a good. I feel like he's a good blocker as well. He's a great addition for that team in general. And Steichen loves a good tight end. Vets that could make a difference.
Vets that can make a difference. Oh man, you got it's when you're looking at this thing, man, you got the Colts. Man, I don't know. You take a look at who you got.
Vets that can make a difference. Tyler Lockett.
Lockett, yeah.
Titans. I think that with Traylon Burke getting hurt, Cam Ward's gonna need an outlet. I mean, he's got Calvin Ridley too, but like he's gonna need that slot down the middle, deep route. Calvin Ridley can get open for deep routes. He's a taller receiver, but like Tyler Lockett, when he's at his best, is just zoom. So I think that him connecting with Cam Ward will be huge, and it's also you see like Calvin Ridley is a vet. He's been in the league for a long time, but he doesn't have like necessarily a vet presence or mentality as far as like from the outside perspective. With Tyler Lockett, he's always been a vet, even when he was a kid, So I think that Cam Ward really could benefit from Tyler Lockett taking that position. You already see him in these interviews. He's like the old man of the receiving room. Like he's trying to get everybody excited and turned up and ready to perform, but also, give Cam Ward that consistency, I don't know, for you, it could be like, I don't know, Texans.
Yeah, man, it's when you take a look at this thing, it's a lot of different ways that you can go into it too. And I don't know how many years is it for you to be considered a vet?
I mean, a few years. I would have considered a Calvin Ridley a vet. I would consider like C.J. Stroud. I think would just be on that cusp. He probably is like a year or two.
I guess in this situation, because it's a bad division, but
yeah.
really it's a guy that we know is going to have a chance to have a prominent role. But Daniel Jones,
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit here before. Daniel Jones because they haven't had consistency at the QB position, even though he had his struggles. He'll finally be around a guy that I do believe that'll give him opportunity to shine and show some of the promise that we saw coming out of college. But also with that, I think that this could be a blessing in disguise if Daniel Jones, you talked about it, if Daniel Jones wins this job, because I do think AR, even though he can throw the ball, he has all this ability, first round draft pick, all these things, I don't think that he can be an elite quarterback.
Yeah.
And I do think he's a gifted enough athlete to be able to shine at a high level as a guy that you move around, maybe a gadget player, move around as an H-back, all of these different type of things, line him up out wide.
Yeah.
Maybe run him out of the backfield. He's a guy that's gifted. You see him come in and run. He's at QB, but you can run something similar to a Wildcat with a guy like that.
100%.
Daniel Jones winning the quarterback position could open up so much for this team because you're going to be able to use one of your best athletes and have another quarterback on the field that's more consistent as a thrower.
Yeah.
So for me, that's mine.
No, 100%. I think we've also discussed it briefly, like in this, but like it's just about getting him sold on the position. AR, but something that may surprise you.
Man, something that may surprise me, and I won't even say that it would surprise me, but I think that Trevor Lawrence has his best year of his career.
Okay.
I believe, getting around Cohen, I believe he has his best year. You just, Urban Meyer, then you got as soon as something goes wrong, I'm going to throw everybody under the bus, Peterson.
Yeah.
And now you got a guy that's, he's had Baker Mayfield, the guy that everybody was writing off. And now he gets opportunity to deal with really the best quarterback he's had. So that's the one that I'm looking forward to.
No, 100%. I agree with that. I think mine, honestly, might be the Titans. I think last year they were in a lot of very close games, and they had Will Levis throwing. I mean, there was a meme. Did you see that? Where, like, last year, every week there was a new Will Levis meme of him doing something that people were like, oh my goodness, like him throwing to the opposite team, him flailing and getting hit.
Yeah, I remember.
I think Cam, and those were all close games. I mean, we look back, they might not be as close on paper, but like every game I watched, it was like the Titans always looked like they were in it, and then they would lose it. I think with a quarterback like Cam Ward, you have an opportunity to see much improvement in that. It just depends on if the coaching and the personnel are there. And I think they did a good job adding certain personnel. I'm intrigued to see if Cam Ward can really elevate this team.
Yeah, no doubt.
Who wins the division?
I'm rolling with the Texans. The Texans just have the most complete team. I believe the Texans have the best coach, best defense, and the Texans are not only going to win the division, they're going to upset a lot of teams in the AFC this year.
This is going to be the first time we disagree, and I don't think it's much further. I don't think this team's much further from the Texans, but I think the Jags.
Oh, okay, that's perfect. That goes along with what I was going to say for the next question.
Okay, yeah. I think the Jags have a chance to really, because they also had a similar situation as the Titans, where there were some games that they were really close to being in. They didn't have the personnel, they didn't have the coaching. They were really flashy. You could see that the coordinators on both sides of the ball needed some switching up because they got stuck. They came out swinging and then they kept getting stuck. I think that with a coach like Liam Cohen, we could easily see a lot of innovation. I think the Texans. I think it's going to come down to their series. Honestly, I think it's going to be whoever beats the team more in one of the games, or if one team sweeps the other. Because I think they're the two best teams in the division by far.
Without a doubt.
Who's your dark horse?
My dark horse is not really a dark horse because we know it's just this division is so bad, but the Jags, not because we know that it's out of the Jags and the Texans.
Yeah.
But even though I chose the Texans to win the division just based off history, I do believe the Jags can. I believe that Trevor Lawrence under Liam Cohen, if the Jags can put together a better defense than what we saw last year, man, this can be a thing where the Jags run away with the division because I do believe Trevor Lawrence is going to have the best season of his career. And if that defense is firing on all cylinders and helping out the offense, then look out, Texans. The Jazz are coming to make a run.
I'm going to say the Colts.
Yeah, I agree with you too.
I think as as much as I said that they might be the worst team in the AFC, they also might be one of the most chippy.
Yep.
They've added so many pieces. They've got such a weird situation. I really, really like their head coach. I think that he could be a really good head coach. He's kind of proved it too with just the adversity he's had to kind of go through, and he's still remained competitive. I think that they could easily shock us, and kind of emerge through the Texans and Jaguars throwing all these haymakers against other teams, and then they have an easier schedule, so they just...
I think they can upset a few of those teams for sure.
Yeah. So that's our AFC North and South. Next week we'll be doing AFC East and West, my division, AFC East. Spoiler: I think the Patriots are going to be good this year.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But kind of transitioning, we got a couple news worthy things that we wanted to talk about, and then football guys. I only have one football guy this week, so you'll have to carry us with the two that you have.
Okay.
Christian Wilkins was released by the Raiders.
Yeah.
Supposedly because of a foot injury, and it's coming out later that it might be because of teammate interactions as well as a foot injury.
Like playing ball off the court or something?
I don't know.
I mean, off the field?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It was either like a fight or like just a weird moment or something like that. But also, I mean, they were upset with how he rehabbed his foot. I mean, Christian Wilkins is one of the best defensive linemen in the league. They signed him to a bunch of money, and they take on a decent dead cap hit because of releasing him. Part of me wonders if is this a situation where the Raiders are still doomed? You know, they still make dumb decisions even with all the new people and pieces, or is this a situation where, you know, Christian Wilkins just needed a change of scenery and, you know, didn't like what was going on and, you know, kind of pushed his way out a little bit. I don't know if you have any takes on that.
Yeah, no, it's weird. I would love to hear, you know, some of the facts come out, and, you know, I don't know how much he can speak up on the situation, but yeah, I think it's a situation like kind of go with the latter part of your argument. I think it's just a change of scenery would be good for him, because you bring in a guy like that, and it's like, bro, what's the point? You know he's going to be a dominant player for you once he gets back healthy. Let's just, whenever he gets back healthy, we know he's not a guy that's just going to sit out and be cool with being without ball. Yeah. So he's going to try to get himself back into shape and get his foot back right to be a dominant player for us. He's not a guy that's just going to chill and, you know, sit on the money that we paid him. He wants to be a football player that's dominant and known as one of the best in his league. I don't get it. Yeah,
part of me wanted to ask you too, having had experience in college football and little different now because of NIL kind of shifted everything, but college football and the NFL, rehabbing an injury. Mm-hmm. I feel like in college football, it's mostly done at the facility. Like if you're dealing with an injury and you're staying with the team.
Yeah.
At the NFL level, is it like a choice? Like, is it a situation where some of these people just don't rehab at the facility?
I think it all depends on how much leverage you got. Like a guy that's younger and isn't on, you know, his second contract. Of course, you got to do whatever the team says. You're trying to get to that next contract. But a guy like Christian Wilkins, he's like, hey, man, listen, I got a better team that I work with.
Yeah.
You work with whoever he wants to work with. And that's when you run into a situation like this. Like, oh, we thought you should have been back by this time. And his team is telling him something different. Like, no, the team is trying to rush you back and your foot isn't ready yet.
Yeah.
You know, so you always run into those type of issues when you got guys that always want to get a second opinion or work with their personal, you know, trainers.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, I hope the situation mends itself. He's a great player. It'd be nice to see him get back on the field with a good team. He's been tied to the Patriots, but I don't know if we really need more D-line for... Well, we have a lot of money, but, you know. Taj Rael, playbook scandal.
Yeah, that's crazy.
As a player, what is your thoughts on this?
Man, it just feels so... And the crazy part is, thinking about it, it's just, I know people have done it before, but it feels so lame to me. Like, things didn't go well with your other team, and now you're sending over the playbooks to teams that hurt the team that you played for. It's like a person that your relationship didn't go well, and now you're sending out all revenge porn of the person that you're with. It's like, bro, like, just move on, man. Yeah. It didn't work out. Move on. Yeah. Like, stop being bitter. That's the type. It's lame to me.
It seems very petty. I think there's a bigger conversation to be had with specifically talking about the NIL transfer portal situation that we're in, where people can just go, you know. At the end of this season, Memphis, he more than likely was like, I'm just going to enter the transfer portal anyway.
Yeah.
I'm good enough to be somewhere else. I don't know. It's such a bad situation too. Like that's such a worry. Like the fact that you have to worry about that stuff now is just disgusting.
And I go in what you said, man. With this transfer portal era, you may get a guy for only a year that's not even really locked into your coach. He just wants to be there for a year, so he doesn't even care about what he's coming in for. Some of them, not everybody, some of them are coming in for their own selfish reasons. They don't care about winning anything. Coming in for the bag and be in the right situation to go to the league, and they don't want anything to do with you. So that's where you run into these situations where you feel like, man, this guy, he betrayed our organization. He betrayed everything that we stood for. When you're in this transfer portal and you're only getting guys for a year or half a year, it's bound to happen at some point.
Yeah, I mean, in his path, you know, going from Old Dominion, being there for a couple of years, West Virginia for a year, Memphis for a year, Purdue now, you can kind of see, you know, there's a path of just, you know, not really being either in the grass is always greener mindset, or, you know, not really being bought into any program, just chasing the money, or maybe not even money, but like just the opportunity somewhere else. It's a weird situation. I keep hoping it's not true, because it's mostly just like Instagram screenshots, but it seems like it more than likely is true. Yeah, but I feel kind of bad, because it's like, I mean, as much as you know, you could never trust him again as a teammate.
How did they get out there?
He sent it to a UTSA quarterback, and the UTSA quarterback posted it.
Why did he post it though?
I think he felt bad about it, or felt like it was gross. I think they used it though, because they beat Memphis. But
why are you posting now then? If you use it, like, oh, that's crazy.
I don't know. It's a weird. Well, that's another thing, is like, why would you post it? What's going on there? I think they're both in different situations now. I don't know much about the UTSA quarterback, but like, if you're at Purdue too, like, if you're the Purdue coaches, like, do you trust this kid to get a playbook?
Yeah, you gotta go home.
Or do you just dismiss him and be like, all right, go play JUCO.
You can't be trusted,
go
man.
Play D3. But that leads us into our football, guys. I'll go first this time, just because I have one. And then you have two that you said you wanted to give. My guy, O-lineman, center for the Dallas Cowboys, now retired, Travis Frederick.
Okay.
Love that dude. Always would trade for him in Madden. In real life, you know, he was just really steady. He got sick. He had Guillain-Barré syndrome. And so that kind of took a couple years off of his you know, playing career, and then he came back for one more season, and then eventually retired, I believe, right around the pandemic, just because of, you know, his health issues. He only played 7 seasons in the league. Yeah, he retired after the 2019 season. He announced his retirement in 2020, you know, because he just, you know, he couldn't chance it with his disease to be out in those situations. But also, you know, that from what I've heard, as a center, you have to be big. For that disease sometimes makes it really hard for you to, you know, want to put on weight, whether it be eating or working out. So he was a great player. I think he in my head is has an argument to be in the Hall of Fame, even though he didn't win anything. He'll definitely be in the Ring of Honor for Dallas eventually, out of Wisconsin. Who are your guys?
My first one is a guy that Aaron Brooks. Aaron Brooks, you know, former QB for the New Orleans Saints. He's a guy that, growing up as a Bucs fan, I used to absolutely hate. But now that I've grown up, got a great level of respect for him. Now, of course, he was never considered an elite quarterback in the NFL. No. But you knew with him leading the charge in New Orleans, that team was going to be scrappy. Him throwing the ball at Joe Horn, those guys out there, they were going to be competitive, and he was a baller. You did see things kind of take a turn once New Orleans dealt with Katrina. You know, things were just all over the place, and I don't think that the team was able to respond during that time. And of course, you know, it hurt his career. But Aaron Brooks was a guy that was a baller, and I feel like he's definitely an unsung hero that did a lot more than he gets credit for, especially in New Orleans. My second one is a guy, Everson Walls, old school guy, legend, man. Yeah, Everson Walls. His story is unique because he didn't play football until his senior year of high school, and he ended up, leading in interceptions and going all state.
Wow.
But even with that, he didn't have any scholarship offers, so he walked on at Grambling State. And at Grambling State, his senior year, he led the country in interceptions. Still ended up going undrafted though.
Yeah.
When the NFL had 12 rounds in the draft. And that kind of goes back to when we talked about how the NFL for a while has overlooked guys from HBCUs.
Yeah.
He goes into the Cowboys his first year as a rookie after going undrafted, leads the NFL in interceptions.
Yeah.
Following season, they have the lockout. They only play 9 games, 7 interceptions that year. Yeah, he played 14 seasons in the NFL, and he finished with 57 interceptions. He led the NFL in interceptions 3 times. Won a Super Bowl with the Giants, and he isn't in the Hall of Fame. So we got to do something about that. But I just got to give him his flowers. Everson Walls was a baller, and he overcame a lot of adversity just to become the player that he did.
Wow! Shout out Everson Walls. That's a football guy I did not have in my head. Like I'd never heard of him before. I'm gonna have to look up some tape.
Yeah, he's balling.
No, that's great. That was a great pick. Yeah, I think that wraps everything up. Unless you have anything else, Freddie.
No, that's it for me.
Well, we just want to thank our sponsors, Fran Fleet, Concord Coffee, and Indie Atlantic Films. And we want to thank you all, for watching these. Next week's a big one. Jimbo dropping for our first of many from our Tallahassee trip. It's a good one. It's a really good one. I've had a chance to watch it over and over again. We were just watching clips from it. And there's things that we forget about every time we watch it. I'm very excited for everybody to see it. We'll be back next week with that, and then AFC North and or not North and South. We just did that. AFC East and West, as well as football guys. See ya.